Being observed is usually the first and the last step before getting hired as a teacher. You are going to be observed before signing the contract, and also even after starting your business or starting cooperation with a language school. You will be observed as well, even after several months or even several years. You are usually to be observed by two kinds of people. The first kind is being observed by a teacher. The second kind is being observed by a person who is not a teacher, who by chance got some money and decided to invest in education. And for the second part, or the second kind of these observers, I'm not going to waste my time. I'm going to talk only about the first kind of observers, which is the teachers. And as we all know, teachers are the worst students. The first thing that an observer or a senior teacher expects you to do is to fulfill the to-do list. Every senior teacher, every observer comes with a list of points or steps you are supposed to follow. Some goals you are supposed to reach. Most of them expect you to be a photocopy of themselves, expect you to follow their methodology. Especially in today's education, we've got a lot of schools, a lot of institutions. Each school, each institution has its own methodology. We have this methodology, that methodology, we have this way of teaching, we have that way of teaching, we have KFC, we have McDonald's. No, forget about fast food. It's not our topic today. But they have different ways of teaching, or what we say, or what you call in education, methodology. And they expect you to follow it because for them, this is not only a right methodology or way of teaching, but it's even the best. And they expect everyone to follow this way. Now, what happens when we move to talking about the students? Do students care about the methodology? Most of them don't care. What do students expect from you? They expect you to help them, they expect you to answer their questions, and they expect to see results. And that's it. You use this methodology, that methodology, you use communicative approach, you use the old school, it doesn't actually matter for them. What matters is they get new information, they can use this information when they use the language. Any language, not only English. The problem is, sometimes students like something or find it useful that the observer or the senior teacher might not find useful or might not like. In that case, what to do? We should first remember that the senior teacher, who is sometimes the owner of the business, or a person who is assigned by the owner, is the person who decides if you are going to continue or not. At the same time, on the other hand, the students provide you with feedback, and this feedback decides if you are doing well or not. In other words, decide if you are going to continue or not. But at the same time, you cannot get to the feedback if you are not hired by the senior teacher in the first place. So what to do in this case? The first step you must do is to impress the senior teacher, to impress the observer. Let me try to simplify it or give an example, an everyday example. It's like a romantic relationship between a man and a woman. Before and after the marriage. Before marriage, in the first period of the relationship, I love you, I can't live without you, you are my life, you are my sunlight, you are my daylight, you are my whatever. That's what happens at the beginning of the relationship. After some years of marriage, when will you take out the trash? When will you clean the house? When will you clean the flat? When will you do the dishes? When will you do this and that, and etc. So that's what happens in most relationships. The same, and don't be surprised if we say that the same happens in education. Your relationship or the first steps of your relationship is actually the interview or the trial lesson with a senior teacher or even with a real student. Next is the relationship after the marriage, when you already have a project, when you have spent sometimes years with a student or a group of students. You get used to each other's. And here you can actually understand your students more, understand what they want, understand what they actually need, things that might not be clear in the beginning of cooperation or in the beginning of the course with the students. And here you can provide them with what they want and how they want it, the way they like it. But here we have to pay attention to an important point. Whatever you do, it's true that you want to please the student, but at the same time, don't forget that you are a teacher. You are not a stage performer. You are not an actor. You have to please the student, but you have to fulfill your duties as a teacher, not as a cook, not as an actor, not as a performer. Another point we should pay attention to, another point we should consider, doesn't mean that the senior teacher or the observer doesn't know what they are doing. Well, this could be correct if we are talking about those who are not real teachers, but as I mentioned before, we are talking about real teachers owning a teaching business. No, it doesn't mean that they are not professional. Those people do have the experience, qualifications, knowledge that allow them to decide what is good and what is not, what works and what doesn't. But no one, especially in big companies that have a lot of students, a lot of customers, a lot of clients, it's impossible to have a 100% clear image about every single student or every single group or every single project they have. They do have the general image, the general idea, which they compare to their to-do list. But no, the only person who really knows how things are done with this project or that project is the teacher. So don't get me wrong, don't misunderstand me. I'm not saying that those people just speak and do nothing. They just want to show you that they are experienced and they know everything, and you are just the new guy or the new girl coming to get some pocket money. No. They do know what they are doing, but as I said, they may not, and logically they cannot have the clearest image about every single project they have. Again, especially if we are talking about big companies. So, to give a conclusion or to give a solution which I personally believe is okay, of course, not the best because no one's perfect, is to try and have some kind of balance between the students and the senior teacher or the one observing you. Try to impress the senior teacher and at the same time give yourself enough time to understand and study the needs and the likes of the students. I can't say which side is more important than the other because both sides are important. Both sides decide your future in this company or that company. And the very last thing and the very important thing is, don't forget that you are a teacher. I know that a lot of us, a lot of teachers heard this phrase with which I completely disagree. You should please the student. You should fulfill the student's needs. Yeah, I may agree with the second phrase, but you should please the student. Sorry, I'm not a performer. I'm not a dancer. I'm a teacher. Yeah, maybe you could have chosen a better word to describe what I should do. Remember, do your duties. This is number one priority. Give yourself enough time to study the needs of the students and how they want their needs to be fulfilled. And at the same time, give the senior teacher or the observer what they want, and to the students as well what they want, the way you think is good. Because you are giving them information, you can find out which way delivers the information smoother than the other. So that's what I wanted to talk about in today's video. That's what I think, or the solution I gave is a solution I think is good. Again, it's not perfect and it's not final. We might have, or I myself might change my mind in the future, but for now, this is the solution I can give. You can share your experience, you can share your stories in the comments. I hope what I said, what I talked about, can help you in the future, can help you gain the trust of the employer and the students as well. Thank you very much for watching, and see you later.